How do you use personally, like do you use human design within your business?
We literally use human design in the business from every single vantage point, if you like. So for you in business as a generator, number one, are you lit up by the work that you're there to do? Because that is your motor. That's your energy. Either you'll have endless energy for it or you won't. You know, that energy wants to master something, build something. But if you don't have energy for it in the beginning, then there's no point doing it at all. But let's say you're a projector. So you sit at the other end of the scale. You don't have a lot of energy in the first place. So how do we make sure that we support the energy that you do have available? With you, I would say, okay, there's systems that we can build for you, go out and build, and then we can refine. Where with projectors, it's going to be more about, okay, we need to take you straight to our chatbot, Maggie. We got to get all your systems like set up so that you can literally automate from the word go, because your energy is so important.
Welcome back to the Anniston Riekstins Show. I am so unbelievably excited about this episode. This has been one that I've been personally really looking forward to. I'm kind of fangirling out a little bit because my absolute favorite human design authority, teacher, guide, mentor is on the Anniston Riekstins Show today. Emma, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just so excited about this.
Wow, well, thank you. What a beautiful intro. And I'm really excited to be here. So yeah, let's give all your listeners lots of human design juice.
All the human design juice. You know, I remember distinctly, so I'm a master numerologist. So numerology was my lane it still is in many ways. But I'll never forget the first time someone said to me, "Oh, well, then what's your human design? Like, what's your human design strategy and what's your profile?" And I was like, "Human design, what?" I had just never heard of it, and I couldn't believe I had never heard of it because I love these sacred tools of remembrance. And so I would love to know from you, like, when did you discover human design, or when did it find you? Because that's probably what happened.
Yeah, well, it is what happened, and look, I think the first time, because, you know, my story goes that I actually just rejected it the first two times. But I think the first time it came to me would have been around 2016.
Okay.
But it wasn't until 2018 that, you know, in a plea to the universe for the missing puzzle piece, that I was languaging as purpose. You know, I'd completely transformed my life, my mental health, relationship, had 2 kids, had a business I loved. Like everything felt like I should feel full, you know, but I still had this gap, and I kept languaging it as my purpose. And well, then human design was given to me like rapid fire over about a 48-hour period. And that's when I was like, oh, I think I can't ignore this thing anymore. And I just started my own personal human design experiment. And then the results I was getting almost instantly was so good that was the end of it. I was like, okay, well, I'm taking this to anyone and everyone that I'm working with. So, yeah.
I love that. And it's interesting too, because I feel like with human design, unlike some of the other, you know, like astrology and numerology, it's not just about learning the information, right? It's like there's a whole like deconditioning process that you're meant to start. So I would love for you to explain this, because I feel like in my experience, a lot of people view it as, again, just more information, like a personality profile, you know, versus, no, this is actually like a whole transformation in your way of being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like the biggest thing about human design is really one of the kind of governing principles that came in with human design is that it's here to decondition you. And Ra, who kind of brought human design to the world, he said it's going to take 7 years. And I'm a manifesting generator, so I was like, screw 7 years. Like, I'm not taking 7 years. But the whole point is it's this journey from the head to the body. So we are conditioned, we're taught by family, society, education, everywhere that our mind is the most important thing, our thinking is the most important thing. And what human design actually teaches us is it's brilliant. However, it is so heavily conditioned. And what that means is that, when we're little, up until the age of 7, we spend most of our time in a theta brainwave state, which is basically a sponge. So we just take in all of this information, and this information becomes our identity. Now, the challenge is that identity is created by all the strategies, actions, behaviors, language, beliefs, values that you need to receive love, nurturing, and belonging. So it's almost like you're trying to get feedback on the planet, on your relationships, on life, and to achieve these 3 things. Now, most people, we are being conditioned. Well, all people are being conditioned, but most people are being conditioned in a way that these strategies actually they come from fear, not love. So that's the conditioning. That's the mask. It's the cognitive dissonance. It's the version of ourselves that we know we need to be to make other people happy or to succeed or to make money or whatever it is. So what human design says is, okay, let's all just assume that 99.9% of us, and let's be honest, probably 100% of us have deep conditioning. Once we realize that we actually have an energetic blueprint from our DNA up, that is telling us how we are uniquely designed to be authentic in the world. And that covers every area of our life. Now, we go on this journey to decondition. So let go of all the masks, let go of all the things that don't actually serve us so that we can come home to our authenticity, home to ourselves. And human design is really that journey from the head into the body and ultimately the heart to the soul, connection to source, God, universe, whatever you call that, that energy that's bigger than us. And we do that via our human design. And very specifically, for those people that are like, whoa, it's too complicated, it's too much, very specifically, it's just learning our strategy and authority and following that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm making notes as we go because there's so many things I want to ask about, but I think for the benefit of our listeners, so let's say they've never seen their human design. So I'm guessing they can go to your website, they can pull and do a free chart, correct?
Yep.
So how would you then guide them? So I know you mentioned strategy and authority, but where else would you say these are the areas that you really need to look at and not just look at, but absorb and start to embody first?
So great question. And it's actually the exact topic I wrote my book on, Human Design Made Simple.
Perfect.
Because one of the challenges with human design is that it's highly complicated. It is 4 ancient wisdoms, astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah tree of life, and the chakra system mathematically mapped together. So if you think any of those one systems are complicated, put them all together. Mm-hmm. So what can happen is that we come to it and we just get overwhelmed. When you first see your chart, and yes, you can go to my website and get your free chart. We'll give you a 17-page rundown of just for free of what your human design is. And so you're going to look at this thing you've never seen before. You're hearing this language you've never heard before. And honestly, that feels really overwhelming. So one of the things that you want to start with is your type. Start with your type, which is going to give you your strategy. When you're starting with human design, you want to start with what I call the macro before moving to the micro. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things I've seen happen really often is that people want to dive into the deep details, because the deep details of your human design, you're literally going to go, what?
Yeah.
Because that is so spot on. So people want to dive to that. But ultimately, it's not the thing that most people, you can't dive straight to the detail and then know how to live it every day. So I always say start with your type. Your type's going to give you your strategy. So for example, you're a generator. I'm a manifesting generator. So your strategy is to respond. Mine's to respond and inform. Then the next thing you want to go to is your authority. So that's where we move from making the decisions with our mind. We all have our own unique authority. You and I are both emotional authority. So we're always looking for emotional neutrality before we make any decisions. You could be sacral, so it's just that gut knowing of yes or no in the moment. There's a number of others. So once we have our strategy and authority, this is really, at the most basic level, all you need. So if you get overwhelmed in the beginning, start with them. Then we move to having a look at our type. Within our type, there's a thing called a signature theme and a not self theme. To me, I always talk about these as there are indicators. There are indicators to tell us when we've gone back into the head, into our conditioning, operating from fear, or we're in alignment. And what does alignment actually mean? Because a lot of people throw that word around. Mm-hmm. It means we think, we act, we feel, we do, all in the same direction. Like it's in alignment, okay? So it's not some woo thing. It's very practical. So once you have your strategy, your authority, you've got your signature, your not self, then we look at our profile. So we have 2 numbers. So I'm a 3-5, you're a 4-6. This is I like to call this your how. It's how you learn, it's how you serve, it's the 2 most significant themes that kind of play out everywhere in your life. It's, we use it a lot for marketing. We teach people how to market with your profile. So it's a very significant way in which, and 2 themes in particular that you walk through life with all the time. So even starting with those macro levels, you're going to have so much information. The whole idea with human design then is to experiment with it. So not just to say, well, I am this, because that's just a mental identity. What you want to do is go, okay, well, for me personally, I'm a line 3. What does that mean? Well, it means that I'm an experiential learner, and like that is so spot on for me. But what does that mean about, I don't know, the marketing for my business? That I'm always sharing my personal experiences versus you're going to always be working with your networks, your relationships. That is, not only where you're going to get opportunities, but it's also where you get your safety from. So these 2 numbers really start to, when you put it together with even those other macro pieces, there's really practical, simple things that you can experiment with in your life every day to improve your results in every area.
Mm-hmm. For me, when I first discovered my chart, similar to what you said, I am like a learner and I love to just absorb all kinds of information. So it was very tempting to just go all in. I made all these notes, but then I wouldn't retain it or I would forget it. And I wasn't doing the actual embodiment piece. And I don't think it took me a while before I actually was like, okay, I'm really going to try this whole strategy thing for a generator, right? Which is like follow my joy. And I study purpose. I've written a book about purpose. Like I love purpose, but it's one thing to know something and it's a whole other thing to embody it. And so when you're coaching someone who's just starting, like what are some of the best ways to approach turning that like I know into I am?
Yeah, I love this question. And again, it's in my book. I literally have an experiment model.
Okay.
So, and what's interesting about what you just said, learning the knowledge is only step 1. Like we learn information, but we learn it with our mind.
Mm-hmm.
We store it in I was going to say head, but actually we don't know where we store it, like somewhere in a bubble energetically around our brain somewhere. But the journey, the next step of the journey is to actually start to drop it below the throat. So we have to start getting it into our body. What does that mean? Well, what does it feel like? Where's it shown up in the past? Where, if we're talking about authority, let's think about the decisions we've made in the past. Or if we're talking about responding, this is a great way where we can start to experiment with, I have to respond to life instead of being proactive. And you can start to pull the evidence from the past of how when you've been in response, things have flowed more easily. And then you take the next step of going, okay, well, I choose to actually run this experiment. I'm only going to respond. And then we collect the results. So what happens when I do only respond? And often for generators, the number one thing they say is, I want to say no all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. You learn that you need to improve your boundaries and that you say yes to things that should be no's. And then you just, take that, write down your results and then review them and actually look at, wow, well, the things I actually did respond to or where I the decisions I did make, there was fewer of them, but they were so much more potent. I have so much more energy. I feel like I could keep going. Like, so you're gathering the evidence. And then ultimately it's that process of going, okay, what worked, what didn't work, the things that don't work, let them go. Often that's going to be making decisions with the mind. Then you move into, okay, well, how can I continue to repeat and improve upon this? Because so many people learn information. That's what we're taught at school, to remember information. But it's ridiculous because it's pointless unless we can live it.
Until you actually do it. How long in your experience does it really take? Like, so if someone's like, okay, I am going all in on embodying my type, and that's their number, like, how long do you see that it really takes to start shifting that default operating system?
Well, it's going to be different for everyone. But I will say, like, the biggest thing is when you start to understand your design, you're not doing anything new. It's more about letting go.
Yeah.
It's more about having the courage to stop, to let things go, to let, ego deaths happen, identities die, like all of those sort of things. So it's going to be different for everyone. Sometimes our design is going to show us who is a little, for you and I, we're emotional authorities, so we'll tend on the slightly longer side. I get to compensate for that. I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm all about hacks, finding the quick way. So I kind of, where I lose time in my slower process, I make up time in the steps that I skip.
Right.
But honestly, the moment you commit to that simple strategy and authority, really you can see transformation in a relatively short period of time. I mean, I know for me, from 2018 to even 2020, when I really started to grow the business from a human design perspective, and I did it very consciously in alignment with my design, everything grew really quickly and it felt like flow, and I'd been hustling and working hard and doing it the old way up until that point. So I really feel like after 2 years of me working with this, I really saw massive leaps forward.
All right. So I purposely didn't want to spend the whole episode with you really talking through like at each of the different types, each of the different profiles, because all of that, for any of you listening, like you can go onto Emma's website. I'm going to link it here and you can literally see the breakdown. And I think it's important for you to read. But what I really want everyone to hear is what a difference this can make in your life. Like, this is truly such a tool. And I believe that these tools exist to support us, to give us a different vantage point, to help us see different areas of our life differently. For me, what really like opened my eyes was that we're all so different. And yet we've all been taught this very singular linear way of, this is the path, this is what's expected, you're meant to be consistent, you're meant to be this is how you're meant to do your business. Or you see people advertising like, this is the way, like this is the only way. And so
we talk about this all the time.
Yeah. And so being married, so Rudy, my husband, is a projector. And we launched our business together and we were approaching marketing all of the same. However, his approach is so different and we were getting results that indicated that, but we just were blaming ourselves, right? Yep. And so as a lot of the women that are listening are visionary, they're entrepreneurial. How do you use personally, like do you use human design within your business?
So I love this question because our, audience predominantly are female visionaries. And I and my team, we use human design everywhere in our business.
Okay.
Because number one, I love what you said, like everyone's out there saying this is the way, the only way. No, that's your strategy. That's the strategy that worked for you. And I actually heard someone who's meant to be the leading global behavioral specialist say he's got the best marketing sales page. Like, no one can beat his numbers. And I'm cockily sitting there going, I bet we can. Maybe we can't. But even he said, I could give my page to someone else And if they're not embodied in who they are, they won't have the same results. So we literally use human design in the business from every single vantage point, if you like. So if I'm working with an entrepreneur, we're going to start with their type, right? So for you in business as a generator, number one, are you lit up by the work that you're there to do? Because that is your motor. That's your energy. Either you'll have endless energy for it or you won't. You know, that energy wants to master something, build something. But if you don't have energy for it in the beginning, then there's no point doing it at all. But let's say you're a projector. So you sit at the other end of the scale. You don't have a lot of energy in the first place. So how do we make sure that we support that, the energy that you do have available? And again, like with you, I would say, okay, there's systems that we can build for you, but go out and build and then we can refine. Where with projectors, it's going to be more about, okay, we need to take you straight to our chatbot, Maggie. We got to get all your systems like set up so that you can literally automate from the word go, because your energy is so important. So we use it obviously in decision making. A big part of, you know, my whole ethos is that I think I've broken every business rule there is. Like every time someone says you have to do this, I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. Yet my core talent, you know, one of the lines that sits in this is called the gate 43 or gene key 43 is like, it's the creative rebel. Like I'm literally here to say, no, I'm not doing it your way. I'm doing it my way. And so you can literally look at every area. Marketing. We look at sales. You know, and we do that very differently. We actually say, well, I know that people want to hear my personal stories, like my experience. And they also want to know, well, what are my solutions? Where am I leading people? Because that's my 3-5 profile. So really, in every way, right down to, I have a big business and a small team. I have no interest in running a massive team of people. If there's something we need, we can contract it out. Our automation systems are so tight, it's crazy. And then my team is like the core team, and then I have a PR person. The core team, we're all manifesting generators. And a lot of people would say, oh, so I need a manifesting generator. I'm like, no, you don't. You do not need a team like us. You need a team that suits you. So we're all MGs. We're all like throwing three different ideas up in the air at once. We're all doing 7 different things. We are very like MGs do a lot of things at the last minute. That works for us because we get each other, but it's not going to work for other people. So every part of your business, your marketing, you know, we talk about startup growth and scaling. Everything can be dialed in to you and your team's design.
I'm so intrigued by this because I do think, I know on the numerology side, like I will 100% know their life path. I'll know, you know what I mean? Like where they're at in their personal year cycles. But from a human design perspective, what would you say if you're bringing on team members, like what types are you looking for? You know what I mean? Like, are there specific ones that you want to bring in for specific roles?
So I love this question because lots of people ask me this question. And in many cases, what they're really asking is, are there boxes I can tick in my business? Mm-hmm. And there is an arm of human design called BG5, which is all corporate. And they say, yes, you have to have all these boxes covered. And it's interesting because a dear friend of mine just did BG5. She just did a whole business analysis. And the hilarious thing was, you know, she said, this is where all your gaps are. And together we're laughing our asses off because we're like, that is not a gap. In fact, that's our superpower. So what I would say to you is your mind has no idea what you need. Mm-hmm. Okay? It doesn't know. So you can't get out a piece of paper and work it out. But what you can do is you can know your design. Then for us, for example, like the last position that we filled, we sent out an email. I think we had 64 applications. We looked at all of their charts, all of their resumes. We took only the resumes that had the skills we needed. Then we looked at all of the human design charts. We got the top 10 human design charts. Then we interviewed them. And what was so fascinating is ultimately it was going to come down to our authority. Okay. So mine and Taylor, who's my COO, ultimately we weren't going to make a decision with the head, which was perfect because the one person who didn't interview very well was the one person that both of us said it's her. And she's exceptional. Wow. And so it's that whole thing, like, and I'm a behavioralist, like I'm a behavioral coach. I get behavior.
Yeah.
And we did not fall into those traps. We did all the right things. Like, yes, everyone had the list of skills we needed. Yes, we looked at the charts and went, okay, well, these are the charts that really fit with us. But we didn't get too like micromanaging on it. And then at the end of the day, the decision was made purely through my emotional authority and Taylor's sacral authority. And yet, like, Sherelle is exceptional. So, yeah, it's so powerful in healing, in hiring a team.
I find being an emotional authority to be a bit challenging.
Yeah. I hear you, sister.
Well, I mean, as again, like I'm deconditioning from that like hustle culture, run, do all of those things. And so, it's also, there's this people pleaser in me that I want to be able to give an answer to someone very quickly. You know what I mean? Like having to think a long time, does that indicate weakness or does that, there's all the stories. But I will say that like from an authority perspective, I was always a little jealous of some of the other ones because I was like, just because I want to know, like the sacral, at least, with the sacral, you get a pretty instantaneous kind of feedback, correct? From your body?
Yeah. It is. It's absolutely instant. Like the sacral of all of them is the simplest authority to have. It's like super easy. Yes, I've got energy. No, I don't. It's that simple.
It's
but the thing with the emotional authority, like it is challenging, but everything you've just told me, that's all your conditioning.
Yeah.
The whole journey is to let go of the conditioning. The whole journey is to say, great, thank you. I'll come back to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it's something for me that definitely was a challenge. I still sometimes, because I have I'm a manifesting generator, we move really quickly, and yet I have an emotional authority. So it's this constant, going fast, but reminding myself to slow down. Mm-hmm. And even when I'm moving quickly, I'm reminding myself to slow down. And it's funny, my mum used to always say, more haste, less speed. And I'm like, God, these things my mum used to say, and she was a projector that was so bang on. Like she literally was raising me to understand this fundamental piece that I will always want to move fast because I have this innate energy, but I have to slow down.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like the beauty of your design is you do have the sacral, so you don't have to wait 24 hours or however long to decide what to eat for dinner. There are those moments where you can just trust the gut, yes, no. Mm-hmm. But the solar plexus itself it's what we call an awareness center. It's spirit consciousness. Like when you wait for neutrality, you're being given this path that is so, what's the word? Like it has so much depth of information. Mm-hmm. So it's going to give you the fastest path. Even though it takes you longer to get to the decision, it's going to bring you just this amazing, beautiful path. Whereas with the sacral, for example, it's like, yep, we're going this way. Nope. Yep. No. Yep. No. And it's just almost like from one stone to the next, crossing a river type thing. Mm-hmm. So in that moment of, slowing down, what we're doing is we're allowing spirit to come in. We're allowing the space for us to actually let our very human emotions just settle so that our intuitive, our spirit can inform from a, potentially a more quiet place.
Mm-hmm. No, that's beautiful. And I truly, it's like you said, it's 100% triggering my conditioning. So it's all perfect because it's forcing me to practice. And I think, as you said earlier about alignment, people talk about alignment all the time, but not often do you hear the how. right? It's like, get into alignment, do this. And you might hear about, okay, here's how you tackle your mindset, but your body is like a whole other thing and the most important part. And
Mm-hmm.
that's been a big part of my learning journey. So I'm curious from your perspective and sticking with business, and how can you use human design as it relates to your marketing and how, like how you're communicating with your prospective customer?
Yeah. So there's probably, I mean, there's loads of ways, but
Mhm.
the two primary ways that we talk about is first and foremost your profile. Okay. So, well, actually, let's take one step back. Your type
Mhm.
and then your profile. So, if you are a manifester, for example, your marketing has to be about initiating, starting something, lighting a fire. Um, Whereas yours, perhaps, it's about it's building the thing you're passionate about. So we start at our kind of type level. Then we really want to think about our authority often. That's going to play in some themes. But really, the next important step is our profile.
Okay.
So let's say you have a let's say a 1-4 profile. Okay. So that tells us straight away that people come to you as the authority. They want the details. They're coming to you for a solid foundation. That's the line 1. Then they're also going to come to you either through connections, relationships, networking, because that's the line 4. And the line 4 is also here to spread things. So what does that mean? It means you learn something specific, numerology, and then you just want to spread it throughout your communities. So straight away, we've got like these fundamental themes that not only when you're in alignment with them, you're going to be at your best, that's actually what people are attracted to in you. So what we can do is we can throw out these one size fits all marketing things. You have to say things like this in exactly that way. No, you don't. You need to use language that is completely relevant to your design because that's what people are looking for. And I know for me personally, at first that was challenging because my natural go-to is that I like to experience something. I like to experience someone. I love to tell people all my stories and all my experiences. And there was part of me that's like, Jesus, I'm making it the Emma show. This isn't good. But then I started to, once I really started working with my design, I'm like, oh, that's actually what people want from me. They
Yeah.
want that. So when we dial in our profile and use that to directly kind of guide the focus of our marketing, it becomes so much more powerful. And then the second thing that we use a lot, and this is going to be for someone who wants to go a bit deeper into human design, we use the transits.
Mm.
So what that means is that as all the planets, are moving through the particular, placements, like through the sun, this is going to be whatever's happening in the collective. So you can, and a friend of mine and I do a transits podcast, which is primarily focused on business, every month to really run through what's happening so that you can, you know, put offers out at the right time or, focus your marketing towards something or, think about a future strategy. As we're recording this, we're in this time where it's all about kind of do. It's time to put it out there because people want to buy. So that's the other way you can really dial in human design and use it in your marketing is really by following the transits.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard about the transits, but it makes sense, right? Because collectively, then you're dialed into what everyone's experiencing, what everyone's going through. For me, um, knowing my profile as a 4/6, has adapted my overall marketing strategy. I don't really spend a lot of money on like boosting and you know what I mean? Maybe I should, but for me, knowing that my net worth really is my network, right? And
Yep.
those so most of my time is spent facilitating and building those relationships, and then, and networking truly. So it
Yeah.
did change for sure. And I think so many entrepreneurs get so overwhelmed because they're like, there's so many options out there. How do I know what to do or what is actually going to work for me? And this has been, I think, the greatest tool I've found to be, I have found it to be very accurate to my energy. Um, I also want to talk a little bit about Maggie because
Oh, Maggie, we love
Maggie's my new
Maggie.
best friend. So tell
Yeah.
us about Maggie from your words, and then I will happily share my experience with Maggie.
Yeah, so Maggie is our GPT bot that we built. She basically has all my human design IP, like everything I teach. Um, then we also put all our business strategy in, marketing strategy, conversion strategies. Um, She covers everything from startup growth and scale, and ultimately all of my coaching methodology. So, I mean, I have friends that have Maggie and they're like, this is so weird. It's like you're in Maggie. It's like it's you're talking to me. I'm like, I know, that's what we programmed her to be. So, the whole idea of Maggie is that we so often get stuck because, like you said, there's so many tools. There's so many, you should this and you should that. And I got to be honest, every time someone's told me you should this, I'm like, I already feel the ick before I've, given it a go. But the big change is that what Maggie helps you do is, instead of going external, going to someone else, giving your power away to some other expert, Maggie has all the expertise that you need, but she's like, first and foremost, we need to align you. So you tell her all about your design. Then you can say it, well, help me build a landing page, or help me improve my social media growth, or help me write my posts. And, she will um, build you anything that you need from a technical side or an automation side. So for me personally, so you can get out and be human and connect with people and serve clients.
Yeah. Well, Rudy and we purchased Maggie, I think, in October. And I mean, it has been such an incredible tool. And I think for me, because I know the power of this work, and because I know that we're not all the same and we are all unique, the way that we approach our messaging, the way that we approach our strategy, what I love is that she constantly reminds me, okay, you're an emotional authority because of this. Like, you need to be communicating in this way. So she's also kind of teaching, like, as we
Yeah.
go, and just
She's a coach. Yep.
he really is. Like, she's like, okay, well, with your 4-6 profile, like, these topics or this strategy or this approach would be really aligned for you. And so it really is, not only is she a fantastic, I look at her as like another member of our team.
Yep.
Like,
Us too. Yep. And
this is
so many people, like, we get that
human
feedback
design
all the
expert
time.
team member.
Yep.
Who is also phenomenal at all things as it relates to copy and marketing and landing pages and all of that and funnels. But she's also really helping me embody this,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is such a cool tool.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's really beautiful about her is all the stories of where people have just gone completely off topic and got her to help out with relationships, or, one of our clients was having trouble with a dog and, Maggie helped out with that. Like, she's, she really does. It's the full, because it is all about authenticity. It's about alignment to the truth of who you are. I think one of the things we hear often outside of all the business, like, people email us almost daily with the opening sentence, I'm sitting here with tears rolling down my face, like, because people can't believe it, that they've finally got the answers and the support that they're looking for. But she helps a lot with relationships. She helps a lot with really getting people to really understand that how you are is who you are, but it's not who everyone else is. And it helps, she's really helped with a lot of relational stuff. And as you said, people embodying their design, because honestly, like, she is me. So she's we always call it a loving kick in the ass. Like
Yeah.
she's direct, but she's going to do it in a loving way. And the ultimate goal is your authenticity.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for creating her because it has been just she's been such a blessing. And we will absolutely I will put the link in the show notes, and I highly
Amazing.
recommend
Thank you.
anyone listening to this, if you are looking for support in your business, if you're looking but you want to make sure it is aligned to you. Like that's the thing. I mean, you can go to ChatGPT, you can go to all these, but the information that you're going to get isn't aligned with exactly like your profile, the way that you're meant to communicate, the way that you're meant to interact, and also just from an ideas perspective. So before we close out today, I'm just curious from your perspective, from okay, we're coming into 2026. I know 2027 is right around the corner, which is a pretty big date, especially in the teachings of Ra and human design and all of that. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, how do you see human design like really supporting people through this evolution that we're walking into, which is huge?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I would say is we're not walking into the revolution, we're in it.
We're
Like,
in
and
it.
we've been in it for a while. And 2025 and 2026 are reportedly like the two really pivotal years between, in human design, we call them eras, but between these big moments in time in human history. And I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Like, we're in a 9-year, we're watching things break and burn down. Like, it's all good. And 2026 is this beginning, this starting over again. And I think one of the big things to understand, and, lots of people are like all, worried about where the world's going and everything is falling down, breaking. Oh, AI is taking over everything. But really what's happening and what's, the few that run the world don't want the many to see is that the power lies with us. We are guided energetically on so many different levels to really understand that this is the time that the power shifts from the few to the many. So to answer your question, how does human design specifically support that? By teaching you or showing you this is your authentic blueprint. This is who you came here to be. This is how you make decisions. Most importantly, this is how you empower yourself to be your own authority, to stop giving the power away to someone else, because we're moving into an era of abundance and authenticity and, intimacy, and not intimacy like just sex intimacy, like intimacy in human connection. And we're hearing all these stories about how we've never been so disconnected. We've never, been so lonely. And those things are true. However, they're the catalysts that are causing people like you, me, your listeners to put things out into the world that bring the many back together. And we do that through being our authentic self, understanding that we have a very specific puzzle piece to play. And our mind can't tell us who that is. And we don't even really need to know the exact details, but our design is going to give us a really good indication. And then we follow our strategy and authority and watch our purpose unfold. And for me personally, I was just actually saying, I was interviewing Colette Barron-Reed today, and she was saying, like, we don't need to be so attached to our manifestations. And I'm like, I'm so there. Like, I don't want to know exactly what I want to create in my life. I want the magic back. I want surprise and delight. And really, what gives me that trust, that faith, that security is my design, because I don't need to know any of the things out there. All I need to be is me. And my design, when I go in my head and I worry or I fear, all I got to do is fall back on strategy and authority, or fall back on, what's my core talent, or fall back on, these things that are intrinsically me. So I really feel that's why human design has evolved the way it has. It only came into the world in 1998. No one was talking about it until I think 2020. And now it's like skyrocketing. So I really believe divine timing is playing a large role in bringing this science of differentiation to the many right when we need it.
I 100% agree. I think it is such a powerful embodiment tool. It will give structure, right? A structure and a process for people to follow, because that's, I think, been largely missing for a lot of people. But also, when you are aligned with your authentic self, you become, or you return to your natural magnetism, right? So you're going to magnetize everything that would be for you, right? So that whole, I think that next step of, manifestation has absolutely had its place, and it's been a stepping stone. But I think where we're moving to is magnetism, and it's
I
trust.
could not agree more.
And I agree. Like, I can't even make a vision board anymore. I'm kind of like, you know what?
I'm the same.
It's like I've lost all interest. But it's helped me be largely unattached, and what has come has exceeded all my expectations anyway. So I'm like, why would I limit? Because everything I can think of is going to be limited anyway, you know? So I love that you brought that up and that you shared that. And I'm just so grateful to you for sharing your genius and your wisdom with us. And I want to invite everyone to go online and go to Emma's website, which we're going to link. Also, you're absolutely going to want to check out Maggie. So can they test drive Maggie, or do they hear all about Maggie on the website? You'll have to let us know.
There is, yeah. If you, we can actually send you the exact link for, you've already got Maggie. So if they follow the link to Maggie, you should have your own link, to be honest. Do you have your own link?
I think we do, but I'll double check.
So you can be an affiliate. So,
okay.
Follow that link. It'll give you all the information about Maggie before you buy.
Okay.
But I would say one of the top pieces of feedback we get is it's the best investment they've made in their business. Like
100% agree.
It really, really, the whole goal is to help entrepreneurs be the visionaries and actually be the visionary instead of being the one trying to work out how to run this business thing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's taken a lot of the guesswork out of it, and it's made it a lot more fun. And also, you have a beautiful podcast, the Human Design Podcast. That's easy to remember. And your amazing book, Human Design Made Simple. So there's many, many ways that you can learn from Emma. But again, I'm just so grateful to you. And I am looking forward to seeing all that you continue to create coming into 2026.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been super fun.
Awesome. All right. And for everyone listening, I will catch you on the next episode. We love you guys.